That down through there felt great. Although that didn't. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Brad, and this is the Appalachian Mountain Biker, where we ride the mountains in Appalachia on the east coast of the United States. So today, what we're going to be doing, we're looking at my bike and some of the setups that I've done to it, but particularly the setup today that I'm most excited about is the coil shock from Marzocchi, or however you pronounce it, Marzocchi. This is the Marzocchi, we're going to call it Bomber CR, and coil over, as you can tell. So I have been riding this bike for about a year and have really enjoyed it, but the only problem that I've had is that rear end has been a bit harsh, and I've never really had a lot of luck with RockShox air shocks. All the ones that I've had, they've all ridden rough, and surprisingly enough, both of them I've switched out with coils, and on my Evil Reckoning that was a push, and on this one, of course, is the Marzocchi. Interesting enough, Marzocchi is owned by Fox, so basically this is just a Fox vanilla shock with rebound and compression. Some of the other upgrades I have made have been to the front. I've installed a 29-inch tire, and which was easy to do because this is a 29-inch fork, because this bike runs the 27.5 plus tires, which are tall. They set it up with a 29-inch fork, so putting a 29-inch wheel on the front was no big deal. I've put on a bigger rotor, and I've also extended the fork out to the 160 millimeter travel, where it was set up at 150. And all of these changes have made significant changes in how the bike rides, how the bike feels, and it's felt great. It's felt much better. But the rear shock today is what we're going to be focusing on. The rear shock is so much more plush, so much more controlled in the trail, as you'll see. And one of the things that they talk about, and you hear a lot of people mention, is small bump compliance. What in the world do they mean by that, small bump compliance? Well, I never really knew until I got a coil over, and then I realized how simple and how much easier it is to get the shock to move. It takes very little pressure at all to get the shock to start moving. Very little. As you can see, I am just barely pushing on this, and it takes much more pressure than that to get the can to go. Let me show you on my wife's bike. Okay, here's my wife's bike. It has a RockShox air shock, and now look at the force that I need to apply to get this one to moving. That takes a lot of pushing just to get the shock to start moving. I'm even having to grunt. But anyway, that's what they mean by small bump compliance. The slightest, littlest, smallest bump is going to cause the shock to start moving and start reacting, and that's what they mean, and that's why they are so plush. And the big hits on this thing is unreal, as we'll see in some of the upcoming video. All right, so in this first clip, I'm just showing you some of the riding along, not at super fast speed. These trails that I'm trying these out on are not super fast, but these trails are very, very chunky. You can't tell it because the leaves are completely covering the trails, but these trails are really chunky, really rocky, and if you can get your bike to feel good up here, you can get your bike to feel good anywhere that you ride, basically. So the first clip, like I said, is just kind of some riding along, and man, that bar clip was, it didn't look as nasty on video, but it felt really nasty. I thought I was going down. I hate bar clips, but they happen, right? Yeah, it feels better. I mean, it ain't no magic carpet ride, but I didn't expect it to be. I feel like it's completely dialed in right now. It feels good. Oh. Cut those things out. Oh yeah, there's so much more control in the rough. All right, and now in this clip, this is a very technical climb that's on this trail. It's steep, and it's got a turn in it, and it's really, really rocky. And you can pretty much see the rocks in this one. And one of the problems that I had with the other shock is where I had to get this shock to feel good, I had to turn the rebound way up. So whenever I went through a slow technical spot like this, it was always bouncing me off of the seat and causing me to lose my balance and lose control. So this climb was always a difficult climb. I've climbed this climb several times since then, and I've made it every time, no problem. And that's because the bike just does not buck like it used to. And so let's take a look at this. Alright. No problem at all. Alright, now in this clip, you're going to be seeing a couple of really rough and rocky compressions. The first compression, when you come to it, it's kind of going down into a creek and back up the backside, and there's a log laying across the bottom of it. And when you see this thing, you're thinking in your mind, oh man, this is going to be rough. But this shock just totally soaks it up. And speaking of that, the 29-inch wheel and the 160 millimeter pike, they soak it up really good as well. It's just so surprisingly, every time I go through this, I think, oh, this is going to hurt. And it never does. It just feels so great. I'm so impressed by how this thing handles the big hits. And I have done a few jumps and drops with it, and this rear shock just soaks it up. Soaks it up. And I'm just so impressed with this shock. It just soaks these big hits up. Killed all the flow. All right, guys, that is going to wrap it up for this video. And like I've said, this shock has really impressed me. I'm really glad I got it. It's only $300 to try one of these shocks out. So if you're thinking about going coil, look at Marzocchi, if I'm pronouncing that right. And if I'm not pronouncing it right, let me know in the comments. Let me know how you pronounce it. But anyway, yeah, this is really great. This has been a game-changing shock, just like the last coil I got. It was really good. So I'm really impressed with this coil, and I can't wait to get out on some of the other trails that I know that this coil is going to really shine. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll really appreciate it if you guys would like and subscribe to my channel. That really helps a whole lot. And like I always say, get outside and play. You'll be so glad you did. Later.